first for the new year.
Hey,
all right, y'all.
D, school.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go set us up, y'all. So y'all keep on talking while I get to set us up.
And Mark, I got this. And Mark, I got this 70-incher right here, 75-incher right here in the Kappa den.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Ain't nobody allowed in here without getting frisked in the building and out. I got the Giuliani rules.
They walk out with a 75-inch. They really doing something.
Yeah, they sure are. You're gonna hear some shit. You're gonna hear some shit down here in Maryland.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, guys.
Oh, there he is.
Hey, D, you got control of the screen, I guess, huh?
I do. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's getting ready to get us started. So
That's good. Oh, good.
Yeah, we're gonna get started.
Nothing like starting off the new year with a slow Wi-Fi.
Oh Lord! And listen, I in my notes I wrote 2024 too. It's 2025.
I haven't written it yet. It's gonna be the first time.
Yeah.
Hey, Noop, how come you didn't call me, man?
I did call you.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
You were lifting that heavyweight, and you didn't hear it. You were lifting that heavyweight, that 300-pound lady, man. You missed it.
I might have been lifting. I might have been lifting for heavy Jack Daniel.
All right, all right, hold on.
Negative, nothing further. Just take Cammy on the corner. That's a direct order. Do it now.
All right, we can still hear, but listen, today, good afternoon, welcome back. This is our very first show of the new year. We want to say Happy New Year to every last one of you. Thank you for hanging out with us, participating with us, joining us every Thursday. We know there's other things you could be doing, but you're here with us. Today is Thursday, January 2nd, 2025. And at this time, we're going to have I'm here with my friends D, Derek, JT, Jerry, Mark, Dave, AC, Rich, Jim, Cheech, and Melba. And I'm gonna have we're gonna have a moment of silence with something right after. Y'all just hang in with us on this one.
we're gonna have our normal moment of silence, but I just wanted to set up what we're gonna do right after. So as many of you know, most of us are only here because of the other people in our lives. And in 2024, we lost a lot of people. And sometimes in 2024, some of us lost our hero. And I just thought it'd be apropos to give a little respect to not just the people that we lost, but the people that allow us to do this and to do the things we do every day. So let's do our moment of silence.
Must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine that's your way. You always walked a step behind. See, I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. Yes, you were. Only a face without a name. I never once heard you complain. No. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I would like to be. I could fly higher than an eagle. Yeah, yeah. 'Cause you are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but Daddy, I've got it all right here in my heart. Yes, I can say, and I know you don't know. I know the truth. I know you know the truth about it. You know the truth now. I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know you're my hero? Yeah, yeah. You're everything I would like to be. You're a part of me. You're a part of me. I could fly higher than an eagle. Cause you are the wind beneath the old man. One more time. Yeah. You are the wind beneath my wing. My wing. So Daddy, I remember you up on the stage singing your song now. That's why I used to take you and your brothers on the road. I used to carry all alone. But now I'm glad we can stand up and sing it together now. It's so good to see your dream come true right here and right now, right now. It might have appeared to go unnoticed. No, it didn't. But son, I've got it all right here in my arms, in my arms. I want you to know that I know the truth. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I will be something that is nothing. Zero without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? If you didn't, I'm telling you now, Daddy, you're everything I would like to be. My son, you're a part of me. I could fly higher than an eagle. Yeah. 'Cause you are the wind beneath your daddy's wing. I love you are the wind beneath your middle son's wings.
Very nice, D.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Loved ones that have gone on, but thank God for their lives that we were allowed to share with them. Melba and I are still dealing with a family member that transitioned also during this last week and a half or so.
Yeah.
Her name is Tina Bryant Turnier, and that's how Melba and I started connecting ourselves as family because of that family. She passed away down in Georgia, and from my understanding, they haven't even released her body until after the new year, and I'm talking about somewhere around January the 6th. So I'm not even sure right now, but pray for the families and pray for all those that lost loved ones and entered into a new year without those loved ones. It was a rough time for me. I'm sure it was rough for everyone, but it's even for family members that passed away decades ago. Today I just happened to go to a memorial place to pick out and to design a tombstone for my son. And I'm sitting there in the same place that I went to as the same place that did my father's tombstone back in 1968. So that kind of like brought memories also. But listen, we're here today praying that you all had a wonderful, wonderful new year. Praying that this year will bring joy, peace, comfort to the families, and to each and every one of you. So at this time, we're going to ask Cheech to give us our disclaimer, and we're going to ask Rich to give us our statement of purpose, and then I'm going to open it up for the rest of you in case you have something you wanted to add to what we just did a second ago. I don't want to just close it down like that, and then matter of fact, let me just finish what I have to do, and then I'll open up to you guys before we start going directly into the show. So go ahead, Cheech, and then Rich.
All right, thank you, everybody. Happy New Year, and my condolences to everyone who's lost a loved one this past year. As Donald said, it was great to have them in our lives. Before we get started with the show, we just wanted to go over a couple of things. First off, the comments and express concerns made by members and guests of Roll Call panel, the opinions of each individual. They are not intended to be legal advice, recommendation, or suggestions for everyone. Please consult with your local police department or local attorney. Remember that the laws change from village to village, town to town, city to city, and state to state. So do not take anything we say as legal advice. Also, once in a while, we may display graphic videos of photographs. We use these to spark our discussion. These videos and photographs are not the property of Roll Call. They're not intended to offend anybody. We get these videos from social media like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. So everybody out there has access to them just like we do. If we display one that is graphic in nature, one of our panel members will give you a heads up and let you know that the video is graphic or the photograph. Also, the language used by members of Roll Call is very spontaneous. It's uncensored. It's not intended to offend anybody. Everyone here talks from the heart. We speak our truth. We don't hold back. So please do not take it personal. We don't among ourselves. Sometimes you'll see that we don't agree, but nobody here takes anything personal. So we ask that you also don't. And that's it. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, thank you. Happy 2025. Happy New Year to everybody. We are Roll Call, Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. We are pro-law enforcement. We are for equitable policing. We're against racism, and we believe Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Okay. We want to recognize that former President Jimmy Carter has passed away, I believe at 100 years old. We thank God for his leadership. We're also we're praying for Cheech. We're praying for JT and his wife Orlando. We're and we're praying for those who are on this panel. Mark Matthews was under the weather. He had the big CO. I have to say that instead of the big C, so they don't think he had cancer. But he had COVID, and he's better now. He's COVID free, so we thank God for that. And praying that you guys just have a real prosperous year. All right. So we have a show, and we're gonna move through the show. We're not gonna linger around because Jim's got a football game he gotta watch. Okay, I'm coming to you. I'm coming right to you, Mark. And it starts at 4:00, but he gonna have to do dual duty until 4:30. All right. Mark, go ahead. I'm sorry. I meant to open up to the rest of you guys too.
No, I just wanted to say, in honor of the president who passed away, did Jim have anything to say? Because I know they went to school together. Did he have any insight on stuff?
Shots
Well,
fired.
I guess Mark is feeling better, y'all. So no, I meant to open up to you guys. I'm sorry I said it and I didn't do it. But do you guys have anything you want to add to it before we get into this new show?
Yeah, we just want to also acknowledge the lives that were lost in New Orleans with that terroristic attack. We're praying for everybody that's involved and all the victims' families, and just God bless their lives, the people that were taken, unfortunately, from us.
Okay. Everybody else good?
Yeah,
Did
I just
something
wanna-
happen? Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, just, because you played this song to that memorial, it just made me think about the actual singer, Eddie Levert. He lost both his sons and a daughter this
And his
past
daughter.
year. His daughter as well. So, I mean, horrendous loss to lose a loved one, to lose a child, as we all know, Reverend Donald, great loss, but his faith is strong. But I mean, Eddie Levert has lost 3 kids, and so that song just reminded me of him singing that song and losing 3 kids. It's just horrendous. It's just a heavy cross to bear. So just acknowledging that.
I'm with you on that, Rich. When I saw that, I was like, how much can the man take? How much can a human being take? So you're 100% on point with that, and I'm definitely praying for the Levert family. And right now, because of death, I'm praying. When I hear anybody losing someone, it's like I have a whole different feeling now. And I've lost people before, but never this close. And so it means it's really a strong, strong feeling. And y'all know the preacher in me is saying that I pray that everyone in here really a strong feeling knows the Lord. And y'all know the preacher in me is saying that. That's CJ, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all know right now. CJ will come in here and mess up the whole show, but I just muted him. Don't worry, you on mute now. We can't hear words you saying. Everything you say comes back 10 seconds later. All right, so listen, but thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for being with us. Dee's got a set of videos set up for us right now. I know the first one is about an officer not allowed to be a PO. Why is he a Wayne County sheriff? This is something we've been discussing for a long time, trying to get federal laws to prohibit stuff like that. But let's look at it, D.
Okay, so that was the second one, Don. Sorry about that.
What was the first one? I'm sorry.
Going to be New Orleans.
The one Mark talked about.
Yeah. There was
I'm sorry. When he talked about it, I said, well, maybe we didn't put it on the list.
Nah.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
Well, we had there was an attack. Let's call it what it is in New Orleans. Just want to caution everybody. The numbers change. I'm just looking on the news right now, and the number now is 14. Yesterday it was 15. So just be aware that because of the way investigations are done, and I want to caution everybody, we want information immediately, but that information is fluid and it changes. Once the investigation starts being done, more information. But we want to give our condolences to everybody in New Orleans. I'm going to go further, and everybody in Vegas. We had a cyber truck blow up in front of Trump Tower. I don't know. Y'all do the math. And just killed the driver. But because the truck was built like it didn't cause that much damage. So we'll think about that. And also,
who made the truck?
Elon Musk. Yeah. As I was saying, do the math. Yeah, do the math. Also, there was a shooting here last night in Queens. A bunch of people got shot. There's no loss of life yet, but we have to be careful with that. A lot of people in the hospital. I believe 10 people were shot here in Queens, and that's fluid. So this year is starting out, I guess, worse than other years. I don't know any other time that we've started out this early and we've had shootings the first day, the day of. So, but let's go to New Orleans. And we're gonna again, this information some of it is fluid, so just be careful. It's a bit of a trigger alert, so just watch it responsibly.
Shams are a U.S. citizen and Army veteran from the Houston area. They do not believe he acted alone, and there's now reportedly surveillance video of other individuals who might be involved. At least 15 people are now confirmed dead, dozens of others injured, including 2 police officers who were shot. Fox 4 Stephen Dial in studio now with more. Stephen.
The New Orleans police chief says Shamsuddin Jabbar drove onto the sidewalk to get around a police car that was providing security by blocking the vehicle's access to Bourbon Street. The coroner of Orleans Parish just shared that the death toll has climbed to 15 people.
3 hours into the new year, Bourbon Street in New Orleans turned into a massive crime scene.
This particular terrorist drove around onto the sidewalk.
The FBI says 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, a U.S. citizen from the Houston area, drove a white pickup truck around a police car blocking traffic and slammed into pedestrians on a crowded street. 15 people were killed, dozens injured. Federal investigators are calling this an act of terrorism.
New Orleans police and all law enforcement is built. We are built for dealing with evil, with things that would cause others to be in fear, but instead our officers, and last night NOPD particular, stood strong. They did not run. They did kill the terrorist.
There's still many unanswered questions about Jabbar, but we know he was an Army veteran and the truck was rented from the Houston area. Investigators say Jabbar was killed when the truck stopped and he began shooting at officers. 3 officers shot back, killing him. 2 officers were injured.
Considering their injuries, they're doing well.
Federal investigators say an ISIS flag was located on the truck along with a possible explosive device inside and others nearby. They also believe Jabbar did not act alone. A state police bulletin says 3 men and a woman are seen on surveillance placing one of those devices. As for the victims, one of them has a connection to TCU. Jack Beck, a senior receiver for the Horned Frogs football team, confirmed on his social media that his brother Tiger Beck died in the attack. TCU football posting, quote, sending love and support to the Beck family.
Bourbon Street is an active crime scene, and the FBI is in charge of it. When they clear it, and it does not become an active crime scene anymore, we're going to open it up.
The city was not only packed for New Year celebrations, but also for a college football playoff game. In the wake of the attack, the Sugar Bowl was postponed until Thursday. Governor Jeff Landry was already planning to issue an emergency declaration ahead of the Super Bowl next month, which is also in New Orleans. He amended that order so additional resources can be brought in immediately.
This city has been tried by fire before, but fire purifies. Fire makes things stronger. We have a plan. We know what to do. We are going to get these people. There is a path forward.
Now, the governor said that he will attend the bowl game on Thursday. There is no word if there will be another media update tonight.
All right, Stephen Dial, thank you.
All right, we got a couple of hands up. I don't know who went first because I wasn't paying attention to it, but it looks like it's Mark and the Jim. Jim and then Mark. Unmute yourself, Jim.
All right, just a couple things. This is probably going to be a long 4 years with this conflict in the Middle East. It doesn't surprise me that it's shocking that it happened on day one of the new year, but we have to get ready for more of these, unfortunately. And as they search for the blame game, as it typically happens, look, we know things could be better all the time when an incident happens, and we know sometimes there's a fault in the safety programs and all that. But the reality here, and in most of these mass shootings or mass killings, in this case, is that the doer is suicidal. And if you have somebody suicidal, it's very, very difficult to have some kind of barrier that prevents it from happening at all. It's just that difficult. Even I know you mentioned the Las Vegas in front of Trump Tower, the Tesla that exploded. Well, I heard, something can correct me if I heard wrong, that the driver of that committed suicide before the thing exploded, that he shot himself in the head.
He did.
Okay, so there's another example of how do you stop that guy pulling up a Tesla, shoot himself in the head, and letting the bomb go off. You can't do it. It's just impossible to do. So, I guess what I'm saying is this is not an open border case. This is not any of the typical politician screaming points. This guy was an American-born citizen, raised in Texas, in the U.S. military, joined the U.S. military reserve. So, the blame game has got to come very narrow here. So, I mean, I really don't have an answer for it, except that, fasten your seatbelts.
All right, Mark, Dave, and Cheech.
Yeah, so I heard in an article, good afternoon, everybody, first of all. I heard in an article that some of the barriers that were supposed to be used were not available. And, hopefully they'll learn. Instead of putting a police car there, if you put a dump truck there to block the access. This way, even if, a car, somebody could ram it with another car or truck and still get by and do damage. So, the officers and the municipalities have to learn, put something heavier there, especially if you run out of barriers. You can't not put something there, and just putting a police car there obviously was not enough. We've had plenty of functions in Hempstead where we utilized DPW trucks, and they had sand in them. That's how heavy they were. And we would block the roadway, block access, vehicular access. Like it or not, like Jim said, these things are going to start to occur even more and more, probably. And, eventually it's going to be drones. But we have to adapt. Police departments can't do what they used to do. We have to adapt. We have to be proactive, because when we're reactive, it costs lives.
Okay. Dave?
Yeah. First things first, man. My condolences to all the families who are affected by this. And these two gentlemen, I'm going to talk about them both real briefly, served at the same time in Afghanistan in 2009. Now, the one guy down in New Orleans, we don't know when he became radicalized or what was going through him to turn him this way. But what bothered me the most about that after the fact was the garbage press conference that they had. And I say garbage because it was a lot of blame, seemed like a lot of blame being thrown around. Okay. And I don't like that blame game, man, when people are murdered, and there was a lead FBI investigator, a black female. She was basically brushed aside by U.S. Senator John Kennedy during that press conference. And his dumbass goes out there and says he doesn't get the answers from the FBI, he's going to raise hell or something to that fact. Man, this is not the time to be jumping all over the FBI. We need the FBI. And they've been under a constant attack since Trump has been on the political planet, man. And, like someone said on here, man, we can't control crazy. Okay, the other gentleman in Vegas is active duty. The other gentleman in Vegas is. Who's that?
I think I got it.
The other gentleman in Vegas is active duty special forces, a Bronze Star recipient. And I don't know what was going through. We don't know what was going through these guys when they come back home, man. We don't know. We don't know what they see, what they experience. Their buddies going down in front of them. We just don't know. And I'm just, man, I'm saddened by this, and I'm saddened by the one in Vegas too, man, because you know it could have been a lot worse there too. And we don't know who else is out there, who else is going through stuff in the mind, who served this country, and they don't care for them when they come back. You know, I just don't know. And the guy down in New Orleans, he's twice divorced. His second wife kept him away from his daughters because he was becoming too radicalized. But I wondered, did she report him? You know, and we don't know. But I'm not looking to blame anybody, man. I don't like blaming. I just want answers and ways we could try to prevent stuff and maybe get these guys some help when they come home, man. That's it. I'm done.
All right, Dave. Felt you there. Cheech and D.
Yeah, I was going to put my hand down because everybody touched on what I was going to say. The first thing is like everybody says, somebody hell-bent on dying for their cause, that's very hard to stop. You know, they're going to do what they want to do, and they're willing to die for it. And that's just a hard thing to stop. And my other thing was that Jim brought it up. You know, our incoming president right away said, well, there you go. This proves that I was right about immigration. Meanwhile, he's a U.S. veteran, born here, you know, but right away it got blamed on immigration. That's what I wanted to touch on, that it's ridiculous that right away it goes to that. You know, that's it for me.
Okay. Karen Caffrey responded on something. She says, my sincere hope is that Chris Wray will not resign from the FBI because this is not the time for auditions and something shows. I couldn't get that real quick, but Dave, just so you'll know, that's your fan's daughter. That's Sister Ruth Caffrey's daughter.
Pretty soon that'll be my church family.
All right. I heard y'all thought I responded to that, but okay. All right. So we're praying. I got D.
Yeah, I would argue. I like what Jim said, and I would argue, Jim, there is no answer. This is the world we're in. I've been my same thing has been since the beginning. Freedom ain't free. We're allowed so many freedoms and so many things you can't do that it's going to allow these people to do the things when they're not in the right state of mind. And there's no way to legislate someone's state of mind because it could change on a dime. It could change in a second. The only thing I would say is you got to keep your head on a swivel. You have to be that person that wants to be the overall protector and safe. And if the situation looks like it's not safe, I love New Orleans. I know that intersection well. I walk down that intersection. Every time I go to New Orleans, I buy a hat. I haven't been there in a couple of years, so I'm going down there to buy 2 or 3 hats soon. That's my thing in New Orleans. I like to walk around, and I like to walk around in that area. There's no way you can be safe in that area. I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry. Everybody wants you to feel safe. You should feel safe and have fun, but you got to keep your head on a swivel. On a regular, the cars, anybody been in New Orleans on Bourbon Street, the cars run you off the roadway. People walk in the roadway. You got the people dancing in the street. So there's really, I know we want to feel safe. And let me say this about the FBI, because I think Dave mentioned it. People want to I'm not going to use that vernacular Dave would have used, but people want to talk bad about the FBI. I would ask those people, before you talk bad about the FBI, find out how many situations have they averted. Yeah, we got this bad one on New Year's Day, but the hundreds, I'm going to say thousands of times they've averted tragedy. So when we talk about our government putting people in the head of these agencies, man, be careful. You want to put your friend there, but your friend doesn't have the mindset. Dave is in here. I think AC was a detective. A couple of guys were detectives. People don't understand what you're doing. They're mad because they're not getting the information or they're not getting it quick enough or whatever. But if you understand investigation, it is fluid. You're finding things out. You're applying stuff that nobody thinks about. You're answering phone calls. You're getting out there on your feet. You're walking up and down the block. You're noticing a camera. You're noticing which way the camera is. You notice a million things. So if you want to start joking around with these agencies and taking the career, watch that, people out, you're going to have clowns, bozos out here investigating and not averting. We've had two. I'm going to say there could have been 20. There could have been 25. We only had two. That's kind of the way I look at it. The last thing I want to say for anybody watching, you be that person. You be that person in your family to hey, we got to be safe. We can't go there. Let's not. It's not safe. If nothing happens, I'm going to give you my Saturday night as I was growing up as a teenager. Nothing happens. Everybody have a great time. I will go home. You know why? Tell me about it tomorrow. And the hundreds of times I didn't have fun, I felt bad as a teenager. But the one time two of my friends got shot, I realized why I was going home. Something I want you to think about.
All right, I have three lined up, but I just want to comment on Marcus. Marcus says, question mark. Can we cut to the rogue COs? Marcus, it's on our list. We're gonna get there. We coming there. Don't worry. We getting there. We just had a couple things we had to do. We had a couple things before, but we are on our way. So don't think we're gonna skip that one because we gonna get there. Let me go to Dave, Rich, and Cheech.
Yeah, thank you, D, man. When you said keep heads on swivels, man, it reminds me of a couple of my cousins and my ex-wife. They used to ask me, "Yo, man, why are you in cop mode when we go out?" It's just a habit. It's a habit because I want me to be safe. I want you to be safe. It's just a habit. Sometimes I can't help it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Dave, say that again, because my wife is listening to this show. Say that again.
It's a habit, man, because you want your family and your friends safe, and you ain't trying to die either. And I told my ex-wife, I said, somebody comes to that damn door, and I'm facing that door. I'm like the Italian mafia. I'm hitting first, just to get you out of there. Well, you don't have to be a cop. You don't have to be a cop all the time. I can't help it. You know, I can't help. I give people advice all the time. Yo, man, live to tell a story. Get the hell. If something don't feel right in your heart, get out of there. You know what I mean? I can't help it. I'm not going to sit here and battle these young boys all day. I'm like, man, something don't feel right. I'm not going there. Let's go out to this place. No, I'm going out there today. Yeah. Why are you walking around like this at the mall? Because shit happens at the mall.
You for real, Dave. You for real, man. My
cousins love it when I go to the mall with them down at Tyson's Corner because they know I'm looking around like I don't know what. And I'm going to get them the hell up out of there. And hopefully, God forbid, nothing happens. If something does happen, I'm going to try to save as many as I can. That's just a habit. We don't lose that when we retire. People think, oh, no, you're not a cop anymore. Bullshit. You might not be getting paid as a police officer or detective, okay? But you got those damn instincts, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, man, I'm glad, D, you brought that up, that swivel, man. That gets me every time, man. Because I used to get criticized and laughed at by my wife and her friends, man. And I'm like, yeah, okay. You won't be laughing if something happens and I stop you from getting hurt.
Dave, Dave, you just said everything that I believe. 'Cause when I go out, it's just known that he wants to see the door. He wants to see whatever's coming up in there. It's just known. And if someone's sitting in that seat, they're gonna have to move, or I'm sitting on their lap because I got to see what's going. I got to see what's coming in and what's going out. You know, so you're right, and it's not something that we like. Oh, let's do this. Let's do this. Just that's who we are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've done police work for 10 years, that's who you are. You know, you just learn that behavior. You just do that stuff. Let me go with Rich and Cheech.
Yeah, you know, I'm saying the same thing about keeping your head on the swivel. I mean, that's, you know, you got to look out your surroundings, look out for yourself. Once again, there was an incident during the New Year's Eve celebration in London, you know, where a few people got hit by a driver. Luckily, there was no deaths, but people were injured. You know, my thing is they've got to reinforce these activities like these celebrations with a lot of people around or these parades. It's got to be reinforced. You got to have the K-rail up. You know, maybe New Orleans henceforth have the K-rail as well as National Guard military vehicles against the K-rail, blocking all access to try to keep people safe. You can't stop somebody with a suicide vest, okay? That's something you can't stop. But, you know, you can make the streets as safe as possible. If you have to double up, double up. And I guess there was a gap he was able to drive around. I saw a video where it showed the speed of the truck careening into people. It seemed like he was going like 70 miles an hour. That's how fast it was. You know, so, you know, like I said, these celebrations where there's a lot of people, the people are the target. And if you're there, your people are there, you got to protect them. Think about access points and how you can escape a tragedy because people are the target. So protect yourselves and your loved ones. Keep your head in a swivel, you know, and stay safe.
All right, Rich. AC?
Yeah, so someone put here, what's a K-rail?
Yeah, K-rail is a reinforced cement barrier, and it's really heavy, and it actually will be you can turn it into a rail if you connect each one is no gap. Okay, so that's what K-rail is.
All right, I didn't listen. I didn't know what it was either, but go ahead.
Yeah, Washington D.C. and New York City did that after the Trade Center.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cheech?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to come back real quick. Piggyback on what Rich just said also. I'm hoping other departments are paying attention. Reason I bring it up is this past summer, I was on Beale Street in Memphis, and it wasn't even like a holiday, and yet that whole street was packed with people walking in the street. At the end of each street, there were police cars, just like it was in New Orleans. So anybody can go around it and go on the sidewalk and come through. Cement barricades would definitely be a huge help, you know, to have up. And hopefully other departments that have touristy areas like that are paying attention.
All right. Derek?
Yeah, those cement barricades they're definitely effective, but they're hard to move. So when I say hard to move, I don't mean for a person, I mean for the entities that place them there. So it's hard to do it for special events. You need a special vehicle to do it. But just for the people listening, crowds and crowded areas are dangerous. These large scale events, you know, obviously like in New York City, the ball dropping and, you know, the big celebrations for New Year's Eve anywhere, they're dangerous events. And like the other people on the panel here were saying, keep your head on a swivel if you feel the need to be there. Because sometimes it may be better just to kind of stay away from there and celebrate with your family and your loved ones, or, you know, with a smaller group where you're not out amongst thousands and thousands of people. It's, you know, when people aim these vehicles or shoot bullets or whatever they do, or they set these bombs, they have no names on them. And if you happen to be there, you become the target. So just kind of keep that in mind, and you know, probably steering clear of them is probably for the wiser.
Let me just say this, listen, I'm too old to be at all these parties, all these big gatherings. You know, as a young person, I enjoyed that. As an adult, I like my small group. You know, right? I like this group that I'm talking to right now on this panel. We get together every year, and it's us, and we enjoy ourselves. We have a good time, man. And instead of just me looking, now I can have my back to the door because I got about 19, 20 other people looking. So listen, I just had to throw it up in there. I really do enjoy being with this group. To Sister Beverly Harrison Wells, I know a couple of weeks ago you were trying to get on, you couldn't get on. I didn't understand why you couldn't, because it wasn't on our end. And I see you had a problem getting on today. I'm glad you were able to get on. Sister Beverly Wells is one of our top viewers. She's on every week. So if she's not on, I'm wondering what's going on, but she's with us. I'm glad you were able to get on. All right. Let's get to was it? Did we speak about the officer not allowed to be? Yeah, that's
supposed to be the next one. Unless you want to skip that one, because I know you want to get to the other.
No, we can go ahead with it. We can go with it.
On schedule. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Our next one takes us to the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. We talked earlier about the level of officers that we're getting. This is an example of how that happens. Let's take a look.
Sheriff's deputies who work inside the Wayne County Jail have always had dangerous jobs.
And their decisions can mean the difference between life and death.
Just last year, one inmate was brutally murdered by his cellmate after a sheriff's deputy went missing from his assignment. He later resigned. Well, today, the sheriff's office is struggling with severe understaffing, with the jail currently 344 deputies short.
So, did the sheriff's office lower its standards when it hired one deputy with a troubling past?
Here's 7 investigator Ross Jones.
Some people are meant to be the police, and some people are meant to call the police. He's someone who's meant to call the police.
This is a story about a sheriff's deputy who's not allowed to be a police officer.
This man is not qualified to be in public safety at all, period.
Until his latest job, Jamonte Horton had been fired or forced to resign from every law enforcement department he's worked for. Today, he wears a badge from the Wayne County Sheriff's Office. Jamonte Horton was hired less than 2 weeks by the Detroit Police Department and the Macomb County Sheriff's Office, and failing the background checks with Farmington Hills Police and Waterford Police. Horton's problems began early in his career. While only a cadet with Wayne State Police, he showed up to a party with a loaded gun. After a fight broke out, Horton was shot and returned fire. He resigned in 2015 for his next stop, Ypsilanti Police, where Horton was written up for missing shifts, found sleeping in his patrol vehicle, and caught playing a homemade pornographic video featuring himself to his fellow officers while on duty. He was also written up for putting those officers at risk, leaving a sergeant alone during a traffic stop and missing a knife during a search of a domestic violence suspect. And when he was working a sexual assault investigation, Horton failed to follow simple orders that led the case to be ignored for 2.5 months, leaving the suspect free on the streets.
Victims are the reason why police departments are in business, to help victims and to prevent people from being.
Who rejected Horton's applications twice.
He shouldn't be trusted with the privilege of being a police officer.
Facing termination from Ypsilanti, Horton resigned in 2019. His chief said he'd been given multiple opportunities to improve, but still wasn't capable of completing his core duties like coming to work and remaining awake. His next stop, the Highland Park Police Department, where Horton's judgment was questioned early and often.
Who stabbed who? I ain't stabbed nobody, man.
In 2020, Horton responded to the scene of a stabbing at a club along Woodward Avenue. When it was time to handcuff a suspect, Horton was seen handing his department-issued AR-15 rifle to a strip club security guard, a violation of department policy. In a separate incident, while searching for a suspect, Horton did a U-turn across 2 lanes of traffic, striking another vehicle. According to Highland Park PD, he kept driving without checking on the driver he just hit. But the final straw came in 2022. While Horton was out on patrol, he heard over the radio that Detroit and Michigan State Police were engaged in a high-speed pursuit. According to Highland Park's investigation, Horton was ordered not to get involved in the chase, but he did anyway. And when he did, according to investigators, Horton manually turned off his body cam during the pursuit.
Why did you turn the camera off?
When questioned by Internal Affairs, Horton said the camera malfunctioned.
I didn't engage in no chase. I wasn't involved in the chase or anything.
But GPS data confirmed he was involved in the chase, and according to Internal Affairs, Horton made several false statements during the investigation. Highland Park called Horton's misconduct egregious, and as it prepared to fire him, he resigned in October 2022. 3 weeks later,
we really do want you on our team.
The Wayne County Sheriff's Office made Jamonte Horton a deputy. Since he resigned in Highland Park 2 years ago, Horton's law enforcement license was deactivated by the state, meaning he can't serve as a police officer until it's turned back on. But it turns out you don't need an active law enforcement license to work as a deputy inside a jail where Horton works today.
We want to hire individuals committed to serving our citizens with honor and integrity.
Would you say that honor and integrity are words that apply to that deputy?
I would say definitely not.
Glenn Anderson is a Wayne County commissioner.
It's very surprising that with a record like that we would have him working in the sheriff's department.
We wanted to ask Sheriff Washington why his office hired Horton after so many other departments took a pass, but he declined. So we caught up with him at a budget hearing earlier this month.
Did the sheriff's office lower its standards to hire Jamonte Horton?
We never lower standards. Never.
How troubled are you that he was found to have been untruthful?
I'm troubled that happened. If that is indeed a fact, I don't know that to be a fact. Nobody's ever talked to me about that part of it.
Well, you hired him, sir. Is that a concern?
Our agency hired him.
Washington told us he had nothing to do with Horton's hiring, but that's his signature on a document asking the state to reactivate his law enforcement license, allowing him to police the streets. Last week, the state said no, issuing an intent to deny the county's request, saying Horton did not meet the character fitness standard to be an officer.
He was hired by several agencies.
He was fired by several agencies or forced to resign.
I don't know about our last...
He was fired or forced to resign from 3 different agencies.
I have no first-hand knowledge of that again.
Is that not something you should know about?
I'm going to know about it, and when I know about it, we'll address it.
We left voicemails, texts, and emails for Deputy Horton. He did not respond. If he chooses to, he can appeal the state's decision not to reactivate his law enforcement license. Even without it, though, he is still allowed to remain a deputy inside the jail. Sheriff Washington told me Horton has a stellar record since joining the county. I'm Ross Jones, 7 News Detroit.
All right, Ross.
Man, I know I know hands up for that one because that's ridiculous. But let me go ahead. Let me start with Derek, JT, and AC. Okay, hold on 1 second. Can I do AC first? Because AC may have to run.
Yeah.
So let me do AC first, and I'm gonna do Then I got Derek, JT, and Dave.
Thanks. I almost forgot the time. Yes, this I don't want to call him an officer. I'm afraid to call him a gentleman. This person, it's amazing how you can go from place to place, and all those things that he's accused of or have done and been reported doing. If you do one of those, you're making your job at risk. How do you get a chance to do all those things? You know, that's amazing. I understand how that's able. But that being said, maybe Mark, you can help me with this, being administrator. If you can't get this information from anybody during the applicant investigation process, how are they able to give it out now?
That's a good question. All I know is, as a agency investigating an officer, we can only ask the other agency where they came from, how they were. You know, that's the law, like it or not. And they basically just have to give the information. They can't say, oh, he was given a choice to be terminated or to resign. He chose to resign. We can't say that. And that's the unfortunate part in the laws. If people don't like it, they're going to have to change the laws. But they regulate what we can say to the next agency. Me, personally, I was with New York City Transit. I was with NYPD, which was a separate job at the time. And then I went to Hempstead. I also had a chance to go to Suffolk. So I jumped around. Okay, but there was nothing wrong. People leave jobs to get more money and to get better working conditions. So although we are appalled at this particular one, it's not that uncommon for officers to go from one department to another. You know, if the state police aren't paying enough and I got a chance to go to here, I can go to here. I had cousins who live in Maryland, and they left the FBI to go to one of the local police departments because the conditions and the pay was more. So it's not all that uncommon to see somebody jump from job to job. You ask the person during the interview, and you expect them to be forthright and upcoming. You ask the department that they worked at prior to, they're limited to what they can say to you. And that's the law, unfortunately. So, you know, it seems like it's blatant, but it's really not. And, you know, I asked JT, you know, well, why'd you leave that job? The pay wasn't that great. You know, it was a small department. I had problems with one of the bosses or whatever. If that's not, and then you also have to realize if you're a municipality, you can't just arbitrarily, even though you may have a feeling, you can't just deny that person. You have to justify it. Otherwise, you can be sued. So there's a lot more to it than the way the news gives it. But how they got the information to answer your question, I really don't know. I guess once, yeah, I really don't know, to be honest with you. I'd be guessing.
That's when there's a civil service. You have to go down the list. Other jobs don't have to go down the list. They can pick what they want. But I think it's telling everybody if you have a civil service job or not, or a civil service department or not, that you need to, instead of doing an investigation, do a news show and you get more information.
You see Kyle's response in our chat?
Yeah, she put, I don't know how prior info was revealed, but it may come from reliable sources or foiled by a journalist. So foil means when someone, well, I'll just explain it to the group. So when someone applies for information from the department, but still, the laws have changed on what's foilable and what's not. Freedom of Information Act is the foil.
You know, but correct me if I'm wrong. The agency that is checking with the prior agency can ask if that individual is eligible for rehire with their department, and they can say yes or no. Am I correct on that?
It's possible. I really don't know. I don't know if, you know, they may. The laws are, most times it's very limited what you can say to the next department.
Yeah,
you know,
but
you have to really be careful because of lawsuits. So I'm not, to answer your question, I'm really not sure even if that's going to be something that they're going to answer. They're just going to say, you know, the guy resigned. That's all.
I think they have to say the person's eligible for rehire with that department. I don't think they
have to. That's my point. I don't think they have to.
I'll check on it. I'll let you know.
Well, I worked in applicant processing, and you can clearly state that a person is unfit. Now, Sheriff Washington hired this guy, and for him to hire him, he had to request that his license be reinstated, the license that was rescinded because he was unfit. How hard is it to ask, why was this guy's license rescinded? And that's where it comes into play. And I think I've stated it before, in some of these smaller departments, and this doesn't seem like it's that small because he was in a sizable building, but some of these small departments, they don't have the investigative units that dig deep into things. But even for a small department, if a person's license to be a police officer or to be in law enforcement has been rescinded, it's been rescinded for a reason. And that's a lawsuit that anyone could stand behind where they say, I didn't hire him because his license was rescinded from the last operation that he was employed by. You know what I mean? Also, it's interesting because they said Sheriff Washington said he has a stellar record while he's been with us. And he had a stellar record everywhere he went until he didn't, and until he did, and he wasn't making mistakes. He was doing egregious things, egregious. And the sad part is it's eerily similar to what we're going to be seeing occur in another 18 days. We're going to have a guy taking office to lead this country, to lead the free world, and he is a freaking criminal. He is a 34-time convicted felon, a felon, and he's going to be taking office. So it's shocking. This makes no sense that this guy is able to bounce from department to department. It makes no sense that the sheriff of the department would request to have a rescinded license reinstated without doing some kind of background search on this guy. It makes no sense to me.
Right.
That's it.
I hear you. I hear you, Derek. I hear you. And I agree. Like it's ridiculous that you can be so bad on one or two, three other jobs and get another job with a similar type of authority. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. Something really has to change. Something really has to change, because if it's the law, which I don't know if it's a law or if it's a policy, because NYPD and Hempstead are in the same state.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, why you can get information, but you can't. I don't understand that. Go ahead, Mark. I see you. I got you, JT. I'm coming to JT, Dave, and Cheech. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, Hempstead's one of the largest village police departments in the United States, but we still use Nassau County to vet the guys that are coming on, and guys have come on, and they've had questionable backgrounds, but it got through to larger police departments. So you can't always go by size. And like I said, what Derek's talking about may be one thing, but if a guy resigns and you can't get more information, you have to go by, well, the guy resigned. And
his license was rescinded. His license was rescinded.
His license was rescinded, but what was the reason why it was rescinded? Was it rescinded? And all I'm saying is, hear me out. All I'm saying is we don't know specifically why it was rescinded. Was it rescinded because of his activities? Don't guess. Or was it because time ran out and there's a certain time period where then they will rescind your eligibility?
The one thing we know is it wasn't rescinded because he resigned. We know that for sure, right? That's a given. If you don't know why it was rescinded, you do the homework to find out. And if you can't find out why it was rescinded, then guess what?
You don't hire him.
Don't hire him. He's ineligible. And let him sue. You let him sue. But you don't put your entire community at risk by hiring some powder keg who in the past has been a danger to the communities he's worked in. But it didn't get rescinded because he resigned.
But you're saying he is a danger to the community, but apparently they didn't know that. So until you know that, you may not make that decision.
And if his license has been rescinded, you don't hire him until you find out why it's been rescinded.
Exactly.
You have children. We all have children. If there's a babysitter that wants to be hired by you, are you going to try and just say babysitters had a license and this babysitter's license has been rescinded?
They do.
Are you going to hire the babysitter before you find out what happened? No. It's the same thing with police officers.
Well,
you don't do it.
It's different. Babysitters don't sue people because they haven't been hired. One. Two, Kyle asked, is there an interview? Ask him. If he lies, there's a reason not to hire. But the problem is if he lies and you can't find out, then he's already hired and you're past that point. Of course,
my brother Bruce sued to get on Hempstead Police Department because they weren't hiring him. He won the lawsuit. You know what happened? He got hired. So if they win the suit, they get hired. But make him work for it. You know what I mean? Don't just say, oh, well, I don't know why he lost his license. I'm going to hire him anyway. Let him sue. he's not going to win anything but a job.
But all I'm saying is, I'm not saying you're wrong. All I'm saying is we don't know that was not done. We don't know what internal investigation was done. All I'm saying to you and
yes,
everybody that's listening is because the way the law is written, municipalities are hesitant. Okay, and if we're looking for guys, we're going to be hesitant to just let a guy go just because he jumped from job to job. That particular reason is not good enough. It has to be more than just somebody who's aggressively trying to pursue and promote their livelihood.
I think as a sheriff of a department, you have a leg to stand on if you say this person's license was rescinded and I don't know why. I couldn't find out why. I didn't want to risk hiring him because his license has been rescinded in the past. You have a leg to stand on. And if you lose the lawsuit, so be it. It's not coming out of your pocket.
True.
Marcus says, Chief Derek, I concur. Let him sue.
Yeah.
And listen, I feel the same way because I'm like, if I don't know, then guess what? I'll still won't know because I ain't hiring you until I do know. Right. If I'm going to be responsible for putting my signature there, and we do this even when we license preachers, we tell them, and listen, man, my name is on here. Don't be going out there acting a fool. My name, my signature's on here. And if you mess up, I look bad.
Right.
Because I vouched for you.
Right.
And this sheriff,
he looked like a clown. He looked like a clown.
He looked
well,
stupid.
You signed for it. Oh, I did. He looked like a clown.
And his answer was, well, I didn't know. When I find out, I'll let you know. I mean, it's after the fact now, but I'm just saying it's like totally after the fact that the media is coming to you telling you what kind of rogue person you have there, and you're just finding out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're just finding out. Go ahead, Mark. I'm coming, JT. I'm coming.
Promise. No, take your time. Y'all think everything I was going to.
Mark. I like the discussion. Go ahead, Mark.
So what I'll also add to that is police departments don't always have the last say in the hiring and firing. If there's a questionable person, sometimes the board will get involved and make the decision for the police chief.
Yeah, the board didn't put his signature on that paper.
And I know that paper. And I know that personally.
The board didn't put his signature on that paper.
Well, sometimes they just sign papers because that person, if the board tells you that, yeah, we're hiring the guy, what are your reservations? Okay, we made a decision, we're hiring. You're putting your name on that piece of paper. You're not telling them no. I'm telling you that now. If you want to remain police chief, you're putting your name on that thing. You're not going to stand steadfast and say, no, I'm not doing it against my principles. It ain't happening if you want to keep your job. And I'm just telling you, I know that for a fact.
Well, that's unfortunate.
All I'm saying is, and I agree with you guys, this is information that's come afterwards. I don't like it, just like you guys don't like it. The real focus should be changing the laws so that police departments can find out why the officer, what the officer was involved in, and why was he terminated or why was he let go, and if there's something more to his resignation other than looking for another job. That part has to be changed, and if it was, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
Okay, I like how AC started this off with. They couldn't find information before or couldn't give out information, but now all this information is available.
Right.
And I like even what Kyle said. You may have a reliable source. I got a friend that works over here. Let me find out what's going on. And I don't know how much you can depend on that, but at least I have something. And you can't tell me I have to hire you because you're on the list.
Unless the board tells you.
Well, that when you said that, I know that's a whole nother story. That's why I said, is it law or is it policy?
Yeah.
Well, you also have to realize just recently, within the last 3 years, I believe, where it became foilable for your police records and stuff like that with NYPD and other police departments in the state. That's the only reason. And I don't know how far they go with your police records. So that's may have been something that just came about in that state. Once again, it falls down to different states have different rules.
Every place doesn't have a board either. NYPD doesn't have a board. You have an investigator. Your investigator has a supervisor. The investigator does all the interviewing, the background checks, all that information. He has everything on paper. Mm-hmm. Anything that's questionable, you have to write out a statement about it. And he signs off, the investigator signs off whether or not they think you should be hireable, put on review, or disqualified. There's 3 options. Either you're eligible for hire, you're put on review, or you're disqualified. And then it gets passed to the supervisor. If you're put on review, you could possibly get hired after a couple of years. If it's written disqualified, you will not get hired, ever. And the supervisor is not going to overstep that.
We know, well, like you said, New York City doesn't have a board. Every state, every municipality is set up differently. So we've already said that from the beginning.
Right, but we don't know if he has a board, right? All they showed was him signing off, okay, and the guy's hired. We don't know that there's a board.
That's what I said. We don't know whether it was a board or not. We don't know. But we do. But what one good point that you did bring up was the fact that there have been people who have been denied being hired for less reasons. You know, guys were too heavy. Guys couldn't do this. Some guys failed the mental test. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on. But if some people want you, they'll push you through. But like I said, it's unfortunate. And to stop this cycle, the laws need to be changed.
Rich, go ahead real fast, Rich, and cause JT gonna slap me inside my head.
Yeah,
I'm gonna shoot you.
No, JT's cool. Listen, I just did a Google search and I was surprised to find out what the new department can ask. It says when a police officer transfers departments, the hiring department can ask the old department questions about the officer's performance record, disciplinary history, attendance, use of force incidents, community interactions, training qualifications, reliability, overall job performance, suitability for the new role, and the potential concerns or red flags regarding their conduct while employed at the previous department.
In other words, you can ask anything. In other words, you can ask anything.
Well, basically, that's what it's saying there. I mean, so that's from a Google search. I'm sure the laws are different in different states, but I know in the state of California, this is true. And if you lie on your application, you get caught in a lie, it's automatic DQ.
Sure.
So
I like Kyle's point too, that, and I'm going to JT. Kyle wants to know what's the source. You said Google, but what's the source?
Oh, what's the source?
Yeah, who wrote that?
Cheech wrote that.
Because it could be Bozo the Clown. It could be I mean, I know what Kyle has that legal mind too. So I know where you're coming from, but I'm in agreement with what Rich just said. I just don't believe you got to hire a nut and give him a gun and all that authority. It's just hard for me to believe that that's a law that you can't find out if this guy is qualified. I mean, they disqualify you for stuff like you don't live at the address you said you lived at. I mean, little stuff like that will get you like disqualified, but yet and still, a person coming from another department, you can't even find out what kind of police officer it was. That's ridiculous. It's got to be policy. It really cannot be law, because if it was law in the state, then it will cover every police department in that state.
Right. Well, that's a civil service law, as far as what could be said afterwards. That's New York
Right.
Anyway.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm talking about. That it would be the law throughout the state.
But like I said, you don't know he's a nut until you find out, and then sometimes it's too late, obviously. But
sometimes they don't. You got to admit this, though. Sometimes you don't find out a person's a nut, and you don't hire them because there's a question mark whether or not you're a nut.
Right.
Right. So that's why I'm not like, sometimes no, you may not ever find out, because there's a question mark here. There's a warning sign telling me stay away from you.
But you also have to.
You gave another example of something where the board went over the chief's head,
right,
in a hiring process. That right there, I don't have nothing to say to that at all, because that's not law or anything. That's just falling in line with your superiors.
Now, I'm sorry to cut you off, but what you also have to justify is to civil service, because civil service asks you, why are you disqualifying the guy?
And I'm sure if you
can't just say, I think he's a nut. You can't say, well, he jumped from one job to another. Civil service is going to tell you, no, that's not good enough.
Well, I believe that, but I believe if you said that you didn't want to hire a person, I hope you do have a reason.
Well, I'm just saying you have to have a justifiable reason, more than just the guy's been jumping from job to job. That is not a good reason, and civil service will tell you that. So
really,
so that's the problem. You can't fault somebody from jumping from job to job. Otherwise,
sure you can. If they don't have a good reason for it, why am I hiring you? Because you ain't gonna be here that long.
Ask me the reason. Ask me the reason.
Well, if you don't tell me, then I just have to go by what it could be. Like, I just don't agree with that whole thought altogether. I mean, I know you said it was a law. I don't agree with it at all. And you know, you and I discussed that before, that you should be able to say, I mean, not arbitrarily, just like, well, I don't like you. No, I think you should have a reason. I think you should have a reason to not hire a person. Because if that's the case, you can say, well, I'm not hiring him because he's black. I'm not hiring him because he's white. I'm not hiring him because he's a female or she's a female. I'm not hiring him for you. You come up with anything, I don't agree with that. But if you give me what we're talking about right now, I need to know your history on this job.
All right, so
every place else.
Can I play devil's advocate?
I think you've been doing it, but go ahead.
No, I haven't been. I've just been stating facts. But
okay.
But my point is, you were good in Hempstead, right? You weren't a disciplinary issue, but if you had one supervisor who had it in for you and kept writing you up for little stupid stuff, okay, he could make it bad. And then if you decide now you want to leave to go to Nassau County, okay, Nassau County calls up and now they look in your folder and your folder is now marred because this one supervisor or a bunch of supervisors had it in for you, so they make you look bad. So that's probably one of the reasons why civil service came up with that that law of there's so much information that you can't, even if the stuff is documented, that doesn't mean it's true. It could have been supervisors setting you up. So you can't always go by that, is my point. So, but like I said, it's the law that needs to be changed. But you have to do it within reason, because anytime you change a law, you have to look and find out why was that law set in first before you just go in there and willy-nilly change it. This is not something that happens all the time, but it's unfortunate when it does happen. And I'm not justifying how this guy got through the loopholes, but there are loopholes. Just like every law, there are loopholes. Like it or not.
I'm unfamiliar with the law, and I was in applicant processing. I'm unfamiliar with the law.
Did you guys?
I haven't heard of the law, and on the job that I was on, the investigators are police officers and detectives. Police officers and third-grade detectives, and they make decisions on whether or not someone can get hired, and there is no backlash. And if a person sues, they can sue to get on the job. They don't get any money, they can sue to get on the job.
So let me ask you this, Derek, and be honest, okay? Some of the applicant investigators, were their decisions questionable?
There's always going to be questionable
decisions. They didn't hire guys, and they really didn't have a reason to negate them. And just, if you can answer that honestly, if you don't,
let me answer it. Let me answer it.
Go ahead.
One thing I was very critical of is you have to, when I was there, you had to give them your social media information. So you had to give them your Facebook page, whatever else you had. And they would see people on their pages doing different things. They'd be holding up different signs. And the one thing that I was critical of was there were minorities that if they were holding up similar signs than non-minorities, they would get put on review because they would question them as to whether or not they were gang signs. So is there unfairness? Most definitely. Most definitely. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about someone whose license to practice law enforcement was rescinded. Again, it wasn't rescinded because he changed departments. It was rescinded because he was a fuck up.
We don't know that.
Well, why do people's licenses get rescinded?
I don't know.
Devil's advocate. You're being the devil's advocate.
New York, if you don't work as a police officer for 5 years, after that, they take your license away, unless you work within 5 years. So I've been retired 6 years. Mine's gone. But that state, we do not know the reason why they rescinded, is my point.
Right. Which is why he shouldn't have been hired.
First of all, rescinding.
We'd have to find out first if that was something that's just done arbitrarily, or was it for a reason? And if it was for a reason, then yes, you're 100% right. The sheriff should have found that out.
That's what we're saying.
Question.
But he didn't. So I'm not saying the sheriff was wrong.
A rescinded license is not an expired license.
Right.
Cause my license expired in 3 years. When I left Hempstead, the village of Southampton said you could still work as a police officer because you have 3 years. So that's expired. Rescinded means there's a reason behind it.
Right.
Expiration is time. So a rescinding will bring question marks should go up. They should go up. Why is it rescinded? You only got 2 years as a police officer. Why is your license rescinded? What's the reason behind that?
Right.
That's where I am.
And if they could find that out, then absolutely, this guy was 100% wrong. But like I said, if there's question, because we don't know why it was rescinded, you're assuming because after the fact you have information. But at the time, we don't know why. If I said to you, Donald, I'm going to hire you, I'm thinking about hiring you, well, why was your license rescinded? And you said, well, because of this and that. If it seems legitimate and that officer went with it.
No, that's where we differ at, because you would have to prove to me why it's rescinded. You can't just tell me, oh, because they didn't like me over here, all because I didn't go to work, all because I just retired. No, I want to see something just like when we retire, we got to bring a good boy letter to another police department for them to say, okay, you can have your gun. I want to see something from that department stating why you can have this gun or why you cannot have this gun. I want to see something. And if you come to Suffolk County when you retire without that good boy letter, you will not get a license for your gun.
Right.
You will not get one, and I don't care what the reason is, give us a letter. And we don't have to tell me the reason. Just give me a letter. Okay. That's where I am with this. If I don't know, then I might as well leave you out there until I find out. That's my thinking.
And even that has flaws, because there's an officer that we know that got jerked around with her good boy letter, and she wasn't able to get her guns for a while. So the system's not perfect, and I'm not defending the system. I'm saying that there's a reason why they should look into it and change it, so new departments don't have to deal with this.
But even with that, a good officer who did not get a good boy letter and didn't get their license, I'm still on that side.
Can I say something?
Sue until they give you a letter.
Go ahead,
CJ.
Yeah.
I would like to interject right here real quick, because I lived in Suffolk County, and as you guys know, I worked in Nassau County. I was declined my license upon retirement for civilian license not because I didn't have a good girl license, but because my grandson utilized my address when he got arrested for a fight with his brother. Okay, so they considered it domestic abuse because it was related, and they were 18 and 14, but the 18-year-old got arrested because he punched his brother, and he used my address that he lived with me. So now they refused my license, not because I wasn't a good girl, but because I had a domestic abuse situation that occurred. It didn't even occur in my home. My grandson just used my address, and they denied my license. And so I went along with the program with license denied because I'm a good girl regardless. I didn't need a gun at my house.
Shit.
I,
No, what's your address?
I didn't need a gun at my house, and I was okay with it because truthfully, and I'm speaking to the civilians now, I had to babysit a pistol for 32 years. And when I say babysit, I was responsible for that gun for 32 years. I went to church with my gun. I went everywhere with my gun except the beach. So now when I was denied the license to to maintain it, I was like, cool, it's okay. I don't need the gun. I was just that it was a part of me being a police officer. And so I went with that 4 or 5 years without having a weapon. And I was good with that. So, because now it's the weapon was locked up at Hempstead PD range until they lost it, blah, blah, blah. That's another story. But anyhow, they had my weapon and I was okay with it. So now was me being denied my weapon, was that part because of my behavior? It wasn't. But Suffolk County said, nope, somebody lived at your house, had a fight, domestic issue, six cities away from where I live, but because he utilized my address, they've denied me. Now, could I have appealed it? I could have, but I was okay with it.
And that's what that was my whole point, CJ. You could have and could have probably received your weapon. My point is on the side of safety.
They are on the side of caution.
That's right. And so even right now, if my wife, who is listening to this show right now, will go to Suffolk County and say, I don't feel comfortable with my husband having a weapon, well, guess what they would do? They will rescind my license.
Come and get it. They sure will.
Listen, but what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm on the side of safety and caution, then the side of, maybe she's right, and now she's dead somewhere because I acted like a fool. That's all I'm saying. That's all. That's all I'm saying. And I'd rather be on that side, even if I was wrongly accused.
And I'm going to tell you, I love the fact that I didn't have to babysit that. I could put my pocketbook down without worrying about where my gun was. Oh, trust me, it was a relief. It really, really was.
Listen, I got to get these four in here.
I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go because I can't do nothing in 2 minutes.
No, go ahead, JT. No,
anybody gonna be happy. All right. So I'm
gonna hear you, JT.
Go.
Go ahead, JT. Go ahead. Go ahead. I don't care. Go ahead.
First of all,
hot sauce.
Everybody, thank you for the blessings.
A little bit.
This is a federal case because if I come from bumfuck Georgia and want to get hired in bumfuck New York, and I quit, I got fired in Georgia, and you don't want to tell what you did in Georgia, that you was arrested or you was a person of interest in child pornography or something, and I don't know, I'm not hiring your ass.
Right.
Simple. It shouldn't be, who's the board y'all talking about? The trustees?
Yeah.
Who's there this week and not there the week after? They have say-so on who's hired? They ain't got no business with it.
They do, though.
They do. Yeah, well, Derek said it the first time I met him. I haven't physically met him, but they do. How'd you put it, Derek? You're always so good with it.
The system is working within the limits of its design.
And it's only working in the state that we're talking about. It's not working in the 52 states. It's 52, right? 53, I don't know. Not in the state, every state. You can hire a guy from Alabama, and he go up to Massachusetts and want to be the head dog. You ain't gonna
Greenland and Canada.
If you don't know about his background, you ain't gonna hire him. Why you think they do background checks? It's just not what happened in New York.
Right.
They killed somebody in South Carolina.
Man, say it, JT. Background checks. That's right. Background checks.
Background check. Background is motherfucker from the whole United States. If he was in South Africa, get a background check. He could have been over there doing whatever. But each state can't be different. And if you get hired in the same state after you quit in the same state, you got to have some questions, and there got to be some answers. Got to be some answers. Otherwise, we're going to have 34 felony charges on a motherfucker, and he's gonna be the president of the United States. Did I call it right?
Wow.
No way in the fuck. 34 felonies. If you locked up somebody for 34 felonies and you find out he's the next chief of police,
Right.
come on.
All right, JT. Dave, Cheech, and Rich, and
I
we
got a lot
go.
more to say, but I want everybody else to get a chance.
All right, we're gonna give
Eric,
Dave,
I'm with you 100%.
Thank you, sir.
Dave, Cheech, and Rich.
Yeah, I just want to say is real briefly, when that guy filled out an application to join that sheriff's department, he put down every job that he worked for. Okay, and you're going to give a guy a gun to come on your job, and you have a severe manpower. You're down almost 400 sheriffs in your jail. Okay, and you're going to give this man a gun. You mean to tell me you can't ask what the fuck this guy's career is about? What happened with his career? From the department he came from and from the other departments he resigned from. That's a bunch of bullshit. And that's why that guy kept walking away from that reporter with his trying to put his head between his ass cheeks. Okay? He knew, yes, you can. You can inquire, even secretly. You can inquire. Listen, what the fuck is up there? You mean we had a guy in Pittsburgh shot a young man in the back running from an Uber. The kids didn't do nothing wrong. They just got scared. Cop was right out of the academy from East Pittsburgh PD. Okay? And worked with John Fetterman's wife in a soup kitchen. Young kid shot him 5 times in his fucking back. Okay? The guy got fired, but they brought in the Trump jury and they acquitted his ass, but he got fired anyway. And they abolished that whole department. The guy tried to go get hired in Penn Hills, and the people, white and black, said, no, the fuck you're not. You're not. And that fucking guy, they didn't hire him. Nobody hired him. But my point is, you're giving this guy a gun. We know you have 300 or 400, almost 400 officers short. Okay? Fuck your board. You're just hiring anybody. You're willing to hire a felon just to fucking get your manpower up. And don't tell me you can't, you're going to hand this man a gun and you're not going to inquire, what the fuck is wrong here? Why was he at so many police jobs? But yet you're going to give him a gun for your job where shit can jump off and he'll fuck up and you get sued.
I just want to cut you off, Dave, because you're getting ready to curse. Jim Kiernan, you might remember this guy that used to work for the police department. Black guy used to pump gas. He was in the police department, around guns, everything. But he had a warrant for murder for years. Nobody knew because they didn't ask the motherfucker.
I just saw him.
Yeah. He's
still alive?
In a wheelchair. He's in a wheelchair, but he can walk though, but he's in a wheelchair.
Wow.
That's all I gotta say.
Okay. Yeah, I know you're talking about. I just saw him in CVS.
Nobody asked him. You ever kill anybody?
And he was and guess what, JT? He was bragging about what you just said.
Yeah?
He was bragging about what you just said.
When you saw him last?
Last week. CVS in Hempstead. I'm standing behind him. He's in a wheelchair. Talking to the girl in front of him, not knowing I was behind him. I'm back there just doing like this. So then he turns around and says, "Oh, shoot. Oh, you I know you've been there." And I'm telling you, listen, it was hilarious.
He was a nice guy,
Absolutely. But if you do a background check, you'd have noticed that you probably wouldn't want him around your guns in the police department.
Wouldn't want him around the police department.
Right, exactly. Let me get Cheech and Rich up in there real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the system is broken because law enforcement officers are held to a higher standard. Correct me if I'm wrong. When everybody got on the job, your investigator knew more about your life than you did.
Should have.
They did their thorough searches. They talked to your neighbors. They went through everything. So how is it possible that you could be at one job and go to another one and that same standard is not upheld? That's where I'm baffled, because no matter what, that standard needs to be held whatever department you go to. Even if you're coming from another department, that department has a right to know exactly how your career went in the previous department.
That's right. That's
So
right.
I think that the system is broken as far as that's concerned, and something's got to be done about it. You know, whether it's policy, whether it's law, but it's got to be throughout the whole United States. And an officer goes to another department, that department has a right to know and be able to look at that officer's file. And then they make their own judgment call on it, whether they want to hire him or not.
And civil service shouldn't have a damn thing to do with it.
No. Civil service is when you first get hired, right? But then when you're transferring to the department, does civil service get involved? No, because you're not getting a background check anymore. You're not going through them. You're going straight to the department, aren't you?
No, civil service is involved until the guy is hired. So up until, so while you're still doing the investigation, civil services, because you have to let civil service know, because they have to take them off the list. So you do have to let them know. But I agree with you 100%, Cheech. And that's what I was trying to say. It's the system that needs to be fixed. And everything that you said, I agree with.
Yep. Thank you.
Rich, close us out, man.
Okay, just to button this up, I agree with you, Cheech. I think there needs to be some kind of nationwide fix, because it's broken, like he said. And the poster child for this, as we well know, is the deputy that shot Sonia Massey. You know, Sonia Massey, remember, she had the pot of water, all right, boiling water, and she was shot by the deputy. I mean, he transferred 6 departments in 4 years. Obviously, the vetting wasn't done. The background check wasn't done. They didn't ask proper questions. How do you transfer 6 departments in 4 years? You're obviously a problem. And he had disciplinary action on all those different departments that they found out. So the system is broken. We need to change. And like I said, that guy who shot Sonia Massey should not be allowed to have a badge and a gun. But the vetting process failed. And I think if civilians can sue departments for failure to vet, that would make these departments check people out and vet them properly, because that guy wasn't vetted.
And I agree with you, and I like what's been said, I think, in the chat. Oh, AC says, oh no, Marcus says, saw a truck driver. And it just makes me think that, could you imagine what kind of lawsuit will come against New York State if a truck driver with a CDL had 5, 6 suspensions and he's still out there driving? And even if it's cleared up, the person who hired him would be like, seem like we're responsible for those suspensions that they already had, which lets you know this person is not responsible. Of course, you can get anything cleared up. Just give it some time, it'll clear up. So I just look at it in that sense, and I don't think Mark was saying that he agreed with it. He just said what it is, and that's why my question still is it the law or was it policy? Because if it was a law, then you got no choice. If it's policy, then that's based on your individual job that's making that decision, and not the state of New York. When we talk about this state, you know, that's why I say I just want to know. Once I know that, then my argument is pretty much over with. Because if it's the law, it's the law. If it's your policy, then get rid of that stupid policy. You know, that's where I am with that. So listen, we just had a great discussion, and we. Marcus, we did not get to that CO, and believe me, that's a heated conversation in this state of New York. That's a heated conversation right now amongst clergy. It's heated because of the video that came out that shows exactly what happened. And we put that #1 next week then, because we need to get to that one for real. And we're sorry we couldn't get to it today. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys on the panel for joining us. I know there's a discussion after discussion, but it's always good, and I still feel the same way, that I believe every department should have the right to determine who they're hiring, because you're gonna give a person a gun and you're gonna give a person authority like that. There need to be some real serious investigating going on and background checking to find out who you whose hands you putting that gun in. You know, passing a test is not good enough. Passing a physical agility is not good enough. Passing a psychological is not good enough. Know who you're hiring. That's my point. Know who you're hiring, and if you don't want to hire them, I don't think you should be forced to hire them. Even with some old civil service or whatever else they may call themselves, you should be able to stand your ground to why this person should not be hired. You know, and Cheryl, I hate that happened to you. But I ain't mad that it happened because I'd rather for one good person to miss out on a gun than 10 people get one. You know, that's just how I look at it. I mean, plain and simple. And it's like I said, you know, if my wife decided she want to go down and mess me up and get my guns taken away, I ain't gonna argue it. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe that it's the safest thing. Because I think I'm a good guy. But listen, take the gun out of one good guy's hand, but make sure the other 10 bad people don't get one either. You know, that's just how I feel about it, even if it involves me and myself. I just don't care. Just keep the people safe. All right. D, thank you for a job well done. We didn't work you hard today because we stayed on the conversation for a long time. But thank you for being prepared. And if you can remember, just hold on to that Marcy corrections meeting, that one right there for next week. We'll start there, because that one will probably take us through the whole show anyway. Police the police. That's right, Marcus. Police the police. And if you've been on our show for any length of time, you would know how I feel about that. Police the police. I don't think it works. But let's go on. Thank you, D. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, JT. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Dave, Rich, Jim, Cheech, CJ, Melba ×2, and Kyle. All right, I said that because you were on twice today, so two different things. I figured I'd just say you twice. All right, thank you so much. Keep us in prayer. If it's God's will, we'll see you on next week Thursday, at 3:00. Let us pray. God our Father, we thank you. We pray to God you will continue to watch over us, and thank you for allowing us to leave 2024 and enter into 2025. We pray to God for our families, our loved ones. We pray to God for those who are with us on Facebook Live, that you will watch them and their families. Keep us all from all hurt, harm, and danger. Watch over us. We pray to God for the Hall family, Gene Hall, who's known as Gene the Barber, in the village of Hempstead. We're praying for his family, Chief Rich Holland, and his wife. We're praying to God you will continue to watch over them and keep them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.